Lucia Flores-Wiseman, who was 22 years old at the time, gave a magnificent rendition of Benson Boone's Slow It Down during the Knockouts round of The Voice Season 27 on March 31, 2025. This performance was so extraordinary that it surpassed the ordinary and lighted up the stage. In addition to leaving an indelible impression on the audience, Flores-Wiseman, who is originally from Maple Valley, Washington, brought her exceptional vocal abilities to the competition. She captivated the coaches, including Michael Bublé, Adam Levine, John Legend, and Kelsey Ballerini, through her performance. Her performance was not only a cover, rather, it was a reinvention, a daring reimagining that displayed her creative abilities, emotional depth, and artistic distinctiveness. Lucia emerged as a star at the premiere of the Knockouts, which pitted teammates against each other in individual performances. She received high accolades and secured her spot in the playoffs as a result of her outstanding performance. The Knockouts, a stage for personal growth and development. A crucible of talent, the Knockouts phase of The Voice is when contestants choose their own songs and sing the songs on their own, all while competing for their coach's approval to move on to the next round. In contrast to the battles that are conducted in collaboration, this phase requires independent work and a distinct artistic personality. The stakes were extremely high for Lucia, who was assigned to compete against her teammate Grace Miller Moody from Team Adam. Dreams by Fleetwood Mac was the song that Grace Miller selected since it was a timeless piece that tapped into her ethereal karaoke night charm. On the other hand, Lucia chose to listen to Slow It Down, a modern hit song written by Benson Boone, who is also a native of Washington. This song is well known for its eerie melody and thoughtful lyrics. Lucia's upbringing and her desire to connect with a song that connected with her indie folk jazz sensibilities were reflected in the choice, which was both strategic and intensely emotional. As soon as Lucia got onto the platform, there was a palpable sense of anticipation that went through the audience. She emanated a quiet strength notwithstanding she was dressed in a simple manner and adopting a confident attitude. Her voice unfolded like a velvet curtain as the first notes of Slow It Down filled the air. It was full of richness, texture, and the complete and utter singularity of her own voice. She filled it with a feminine gravitas, merging the soulful resonance of Amy Winehouse with the crystalline purity of Adele. Whereas Boone's original exudes a raw, masculine intensity, Lucia infused it with a feminine gravitas. Her vibrato, which is a characteristic feature of her sound, flowed across the tune, adding layers of emotion that changed the song into something that was truly her own. One that is capable of captivating attention. The responses of the coaches were instantaneous and almost instinctive. Kelsey Ballerini, a country pop sensation who was playing her first full season as a coach, was the first to speak, and her voice was shaking with enthusiasm as she expressed her thoughts. When she stated this, she was leaning forward in her red chair and saying, "You sing with such certainty. You made a demand for attention. For some reason, you remind me a little bit of Amy Winehouse in the present day." Although Lucia's performance possessed the same raw vulnerability and retro soul edge that characterized Winehouse, it was indisputably modern and served as a bridge between different periods. This suggests that the comparison was appropriate. The fact that Ballerini's eyes shone with excitement as she realized she was witnessing something remarkable is evidence of the emotional investment she had in the artists. John Legend, a seasoned player who had previously won an EGOT award, stood up and gave a standing ovation, which demonstrated his admiration for the artist. In a tone that was both kind and analytical, he made the observation that the clarity in your voice is remarkable. "I would go with Lucia." He spoke with authority, and his comments reflected his seasoned perspective on what it is that makes a voice feel ageless. Lucia's coach, Adam Levine, received a small boost from Legend's encouragement, which confirmed her ability to be a finalist in the competition. The incumbent champion, Michael Bublé, who had just won season 26, focused his attention on Lucia's technical abilities. The signature charm that he possessed was tinged with real awe as he remarked, "That vibrato. It's stunning. You have brought this entire place to a higher level." Lucia was someone who could use her voice like an instrument, bending notes with precision and passion, and Bublé, who is famed for his own mastery of vocal dynamics, recognized in Lucia a kindred soul. After a break of 6 years, Adam Levine made his comeback to The Voice, and he was visibly impacted by the experience. The onerous task of selecting between Lucia and Grace Miller was one that he had to face in his role as Lucia's coach. Nonetheless, his comments made it very clear that he was loyal to himself. During their conversation, he told Lucia, "You truly exemplify all of the best things that I believe a singer should be. You are unique, which is the most important thing. At that moment, your voice is broadcast on the radio, and everyone is going to be aware of what it is. I think that is a very remarkable thing." The praise that Levine directed towards Lucia was not only an act of flattery. Rather, it was an acknowledgement of her ability to shake up the music industry, much like his frequently acknowledged inspiration, Brandi Carlile, whom Lucia herself admires, reimagining the phrase "slow it down." During her performance, Lucia was able to take the song "Slow It Down" and transform it into a vehicle for her personal narrative, which was what made her stand out. The original version of the song by Boone is a stripped-down ballad that builds to an emotional crescendo. It is an appeal for patience. The speed, on the other hand, was slowed down even further by Lucia, who allowed each note to linger like a breath withheld. The way she said things was careful and almost conversational, which drew the audience into a discourse that was more personal. In contrast to Boone's version, which is straightforward and tormented, Lucia's version was loaded with depth. It was regretful yet hopeful, vulnerable yet forceful. The manner in which she addressed the structure of the song was particularly reminiscent of her indie folk beginnings. She avoided a conventional pop delivery and instead used jazzy inflections and delicate improvisations, which kept the coaches and viewers on the edge of their seats. One thing in particular that was a revelation was the bridge. The words urged, "Slow it down, just take it slow," while Lucia's voice rose to a high pitch before falling to a whisper. This created a dramatic arc that seemed like a journey through pain and healing. One of the few artists her age who is capable of striking such a balance between constraint and release, it was a masterclass in both. Not only was this reinvention technical, but it was also on an emotional level. Lucia's rendition was subtly influenced by her Mexican-American roots, which she proudly displayed in her blind audition performance of Angela Aguilar's La Llorona. Her voice had a feeling of storytelling that echoed the folk traditions of her ancestry, and it had a cultural richness that was evident in her delivery. It seemed as if she was channeling decades of resiliency into Boone's modern sorrow, thereby transforming it into a universal anthem of yearning and strength. This decision and everything else. There was a tangible sense of anxiety when it came time for Levine to make his decision. Dreams by Grace Miller had been solid, if uneven, with instances of pitchiness that showed her anxiousness. Overall, the song was successful. Despite a little lapse in song selection, Lucia had delivered a performance that left a lasting impression on the audience. Some commentators stated that "Slow It Down" did not adequately demonstrate her vast variety of musical abilities. His decision was made quite obvious by Levine, who has always been a fervent supporter of distinctive voices. In his declaration, he stated that Lucia is unlike anyone who has ever participated in this competition. "To be a finalist would be a dream come true for me." As a result of this, Lucia was able to advance to the playoffs, while Grace Miller was able to gracefully and dignifiedly announce her departure from the voice competition. The audience erupted in applause, and social media was lit up with people's emotions. Fans praised Lucia's performance, describing it as goosebump-inducing. One fan wrote, "Lucia Flores-Wiseman is moving on to the live playoffs. Brings me chills." The victory that she achieved was not just a success for Team Adam, but it was also a moment of triumph for innovation in general. Lucia's unusual and soulful style stood out as a beacon of originality in a competition that was frequently dominated by power belters and polished pop singers. Becoming a star in the making, Lucia Flores-Wiseman is quickly becoming a frontrunner in the competition for The Voice Season 27 as the season continues. She has demonstrated a remarkable blend of talent and authenticity throughout her journey, which began with a 4-chair turn in the blinds and culminated with a knockouts victory. By drawing inspiration from artists such as Brandi Carlile, Amy Winehouse, and Norah Jones, she is in the process of establishing a niche that is difficult to classify. When the playoffs begin on April 28, she will be put to the test even harder because only 2 artists from each team will be able to advance to the live shows. On the other hand, if her reimagining of Slow It Down is any indicator, Lucia possesses the inventiveness and charisma necessary to go all the way. Lucia exemplifies the kind of talent that coaches Bubble, Leving, Legend, and Ballerini hope to one day mentor. She is an artist who not only sings but also evolves. She has already reinvented a popular song with her one-of-a-kind voice, which is a tapestry of indie, folk, and jazz. She anticipates that she will change the competition as well. At the same time that the entire world is watching, Lucia Flores-Wiseman is demonstrating that true artistry is the ability to be different while still having the talent to make it unforgettable.